Hello guys, welcome back to another video. I am finally back, I guess. I'll do occasional videos now, I guess. But today's video is going to be dedicated to a modern scenario. And this is going to be, what if Trump went wild? Now, it's very controversial to just hop into a scenario where he goes wild. So we all know that Trump is an aggressive maniac, so yeah. The red is going to be the United States. They're going to be the enemies, the bullies, as they are in the real world. And for his first wild, wacky action, after Canada responded to the tariff by getting him equalizing tariffs, because we're that nice, he's going to go and declare war, which was the worst move to do. He's also going to declare war on Greenland, because, you know, if you can't get it normally, you might as well invade or something. And this would initially just be locked in between the three nations. Technically, that's also Denmark, so it's also coloring Denmark, because Denmark owns Greenland, as we all know. So we have, well, technically four nations at war right now. If you know anything about the United States, you would be very confident that they can win. I mean, look at that. They could pretty easily just invade and cut off a significant chunk of Canada. I mean, it's not like the most important part in Canada, but still, they could then invade random parts. I don't think the troops would be too into this war, so they wouldn't really go for major pushes. They wouldn't be motivated to do much. So there's only going to be minor expansion at best. Now, how will Europe react to this? Well, I believe that NATO would get involved, however many nation NATO there is. Something like that. Around that. Forgetting the Balkans, I guess. For the most part, this is accurate. So now NATO troops are coming on over. Now the states, they screwed themselves over here by doing this war. And as soon as the Canadian army is built, because we barely have a Canadian army, I don't know roughly where the Mississippi, I don't know roughly where it is, but I believe it's around here. So we're going to try to take the Mississippi River, because that's kind of our only real way to counter that. So the Americans would see what we're doing and quickly pull out of that part of Canada. And while they're rearranging the front lines, we would go further down the Mississippi River. Now note, this is just like the Canadian forces, not really any other forces, but soon there's going to be European reinforcement. But still, the Americans will hold over here. In fact, they might even gain some more land. But for the most part, their troops aren't motivated to do an all-out war like this against Canada. Yeah, it's just not meant to be. But as Mexico realizes that there's going to be European troops coming on, they're gonna kind of egg on and give the Americans a bunch of tariffs. And if Trump really hasn't learned his lesson yet, then he might as well just declare war on Mexico as well. I mean, yeah. This man's not very wise at all, so you never know. He might also declare war on Mexico, but if you want to take this out of your head, can and go ahead, maybe he wouldn't invade Mexico, but for this scenario, we're gonna say he does it, because, I don't know, he's stupid. Anyways, they keep pushing down, but the Americans would eventually go in and encircle and knock out that Canadian army. It was going to be a very harsh blow to the Canadians, but that was mostly a time or a diversion tactic until like the Europeans arrive. And when the Europeans arrive, the Americans eventually have to pull out, and now they're just back to the start of the war. They've lost a lot of troops, and they have to fight way more countries. So this is where the war will kind of turn on the Americans. The European troops will come in, and the Americans will start to lose New England around that area. And I guess some Mounties or something. There's gonna be a few people going in and taking a stroll in Alaska. Like, Alaska even matters. We'll just say that they capture Alaska. Alaska isn't easy to invade, but they'll eventually do it, I guess. The Mexicans will eventually push in with a bit of confusion on the American front lines. But I don't think Mexico's powerful enough to do that much. So, boom, yeah, they get that little strip so far. But as the Europeans keep plummeting down and wipe out New England, the Americans are probably gonna have enough. The people that don't support Donald J. Trump, or Donald Trump, I guess, they would probably want to form rebellion. Now around here is the more democratic parts, and we're just gonna say they help the Mexicans out, which is the only real reason that they get that much territory from the states at this point in the war, because I don't think Mexico could really put up much of a fight against American troops. I could be wrong, but there's also cartels, so yeah, I don't want to overestimate Mexico. But now we have another push down, because yeah, with the troops from the Europeans, I believe they could go down and do that method. Now the US is split into two. How will this impact the United States going forward? Let's be honest, any reasonable president would probably surrender here. They would probably get a way easier peace deal, but knowing this man, peace was never an option. So he's going to do mass conscription, which would probably just cause more revolt, and it would be hard to maintain. So he basically just called, let everybody in the military, and then everybody rebel. I don't think many people want to join the military these days, especially at a time like this. So I guess the Canadians can just push on in. At this point, the Europeans are mostly fighting in the New England front and in Mississippi River. But now I feel like this is the point where it'd be fine, let's discuss peace negotiations. So he would eventually surrender. A pretty realistic situation. It wouldn't be an easy war, but the United States would just not win it at this moment. I do not think that they could. So what will a peace deal be? It might be bad, might be good. Let's see what the real damage is here. For the Canadians' pain and suffering, they're gonna have to hand over this territory over to Canada. So yay, Canada gains like what, Maine? I don't think they'd want to majorly restrict the United States here. Just kind of give them a lesson. And I guess the Canadians can take Alaska, because the Americans have got a lot of oil up there and they don't need oil no more. So the Canadians can also get Alaska, I figure. I think it makes sense. Whoa, that's not what I wanted to see. And now Canada looks way bigger, but what about the other countries? Would they want to clip something? I don't think they would want to take anything out of this war. There'd definitely be proposals, but I'd say that this peace deal is probably the best one we could get. The United States will still have a lot of industrial power, but it's mainly the government that is going to be changed in this peace deal. But Canada will get its fair share of land. And if you're wondering, Maine will probably become a whole province after an election or a referendum or vote thingy, and Alaska would either become a province or territory. Again, they would probably be held up to vote on what they wanted to do with that land. Anyways, down at the United States, actually I do think Mexico might get land. Let's go back and give Mexico a tiny strip of land. Mexico didn't really do much. They get that land, minor land, but I feel like they deserve something for winning the war. Anyways, the Americans, they shrunk in size quite a bit. I also think the Mexicans might get Puerto Rico. We'll just say it for the scenario. The Americans, what political system are they going to do now? They had a flawed democracy, so I feel like everybody in the peace deal would probably go and read a history book and know that that was not what the founding fathers really wanted. And I feel like it would be a multi-party system, not just a two-party system. So there'd probably be like 3 or 4 main parties. Democrats, Republicans, the names might be changed, or I actually think that the parties would stay, how controversial they may be now. And then there'd be like 2 more parties introduced, like maybe the Green Party and something else, I don't know. But the main point is that the Americans would have more options, not just like, ooh, Democrats or Republican. They would have 2 more options when they go to the ballot. Will it work? I do not know, but it's a good idea in practice or on paper. It might just go back into corruption. You never know. Could work, could not work. You never know. But anyways, this was my scenario on what if Trump decided to go a little bit more wacky than in our timeline. And yeah, he wouldn't be president anymore. They'd hold a new election after the war. So it didn't really work out well for him. I wonder why. I'm not sure if the comments will be crazy on this one or not, but yeah, I guess that's going to be about it. See ya.